We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we record this podcast.
Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
Hello, green beans, and hello, potential sponsors. This is a bit of a weird way to start the episode, but we need you. We need help. Green Girls needs your help to become a much more sustainable podcast. That is because we have loved putting on this podcast, but right now our savings are looking pretty thin. And this might be a bit of a stretch for most small businesses out there. It sucks. It really does that we keep seeing more and more small businesses that we love not being able to last through the past few years. It has been so tough. And honestly, I'm coming on today to say that it has now become tough for us too. And if you would like to reach an audience of green lovers, green beans like yourself, then please get in touch and consider sponsoring our podcast. If you're interested, then just go ahead and look at our Instagram account and you'll find a bit more information there. Thank you. We love you. On to the show. Hello, green beans. Hello, Mikaela. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Green Girls episode maybe 18?
I think 18. That's pretty cool.
Wow. We can legally
18.
Drink if that was years. That's
true.
all I can think of. Not in America, but in the other places. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And today is a not so fun episode. I hate to say, but Mikaela brought this to my attention a couple days ago and we've got to talk about it. We've got to talk about RedCycle. Dun dun dun.
Yes. Had a lot of news and social media coverage lately. And something popped up on my Instagram the other day that said they have officially gone insolvent. So I sent that to Chloe with a sad face emoji and she said, whoop, we have our podcast episode. And I thought, true. We've got to turn something sad into something good.
I'm always on the lookout for content. What can I say?
Exactly right. So I've sort of done a bit of a breakdown of like what we know so far and then updates as of today and what the future sort of looks like. So I don't know if we want to jump straight into that or if we want to go...
Well, I will very quickly backtrack in case someone is somehow listening that doesn't know about RedCycle. If you're not in Australia, then you may have a different soft plastic recycling scheme in your country. And if you do, be thankful and praise the recycling lords that it's working. Because RedCycle had collection points in most of the major grocery stores, supermarkets throughout Australia. And it seemed like a great solution for all of your soft plastics to be recycled there. It then went to warehouses and they had partners that the plastics would then be sold to or recycled with or turned into something new. That is at least what we believed. So let's go back to you, Mikaela. And by the way, can you tell me what insolvent means? Because I'm sitting here pretending to know.
Yes, I'm going to look up the exact term because I'll probably say it wrong. Okay. But I've actually been... stung by this before when I had, hang on, my brain's not working, insolvency, spelling, trying to spell and talk at the same time. But, when I had Leo, my brand, I stocked in a particular location, I won't say a name, which was run by a third-party company and I was making sales. It was awesome. And then I, some reason on my lunch break, looked up the company. I don't know why. I just had a feeling. And there was a notice that they went insolvent. So basically it means that you're unable to pay debts. So this particular company ended up going bust. They owed rent to the store that they were in. They owed money to the businesses that they were selling. And essentially what happens is they get a liquidator involved and mainly the big debts are then paid off. So the little guys kind of lose out.
Right.
So RedCycle was declared insolvent very recently. So as we were learning before, that insolvency is the state of being unable to pay debts by a person or company. So what we know so far. The program was initially paused in November of 2022 after it was alleged 3,000 tons of plastic had been stored across 9 different sites. So it's a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
Going on from that, Woolworths and Coles paused their collections, and there was quite a lot of interaction on social media. So it seemed like the community was hopeful that collections would resume.
Yeah.
I, for one, have my own little stockpile.
Same. Yep. It's one at work and a much bigger one at home.
Yeah. I'm slowly. Jake's like he said he doesn't care as long as it's out of sight, and I was like, that's fine. I'll hide it. So I'll have probably by the end of this, I'll have like a bag here, a bag there, a bag everywhere. But anywho, we've got to make light of this sort of situation. So, updates as of today. We're recording this on the 8th of March. It's probably going to go out in a week or so.
Yes.
What had led to this insolvency was the Environment Protection Authority, or EPA, alleged that RedCycle failed to disclose all the sites where soft plastics were being stockpiled. So originally there was a few sites that were known, and this organisation wanted to know if there were any more. Allegedly, they said there weren't when there were. So each charge from this carries a maximum penalty of more than $165,000.
Oh my goodness.
So you can see how these money things would come about. So not only that, there's 2 transport companies, BTG Logistics and Topline, and they have both claimed unpaid fees.
Ooh.
So RedCycle had not paid BTG $200,000 for storing roughly around 600 tons of soft plastic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then the amount owed to the other company, Topline, we don't know. So this is sort of, compiled and unfortunately led to where we are today. There just wasn't really a way out of it for this company, unfortunately. So, good news.
Good news.
Good news. Yes. Coles and Woolies have taken responsibility for the soft plastics that have been stored in the warehouses. It's about 12,400 tons.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
it's a lot.
Do they have a plan?
Yes, they do. So they have the rights to the material management. They're not involved in any of RedCycle's debts or actually acquiring the company. It's just the rights to the plastics that have been stored.
Okay.
So they've only taken over management and storage of it.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, so that's good news because that's some big guys. Like if anyone can sort of fix this issue, it's probably going to be those guys because they are huge and they got a lot of money.
Yes, if anyone has the resources and the friends, then it's going to be them. Okay.
Which honestly, I'm quite surprised that they haven't done anything up to this point, like that it's all relied on this independent business company.
If someone else is doing it and they're doing it well, then they just get to
float along.
Yeah. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Exactly.
But it's broken now.
So, it's broken. It's well and truly broken. I've seen some photos of these warehouses and it's pretty insane. It's also kind of ironic that the soft plastics have been wrapped in soft plastic. What? To like keep them together. So it's like these big pallets of plastics. Anyway.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
Yeah. I had a bit of a giggle because, what else can you do? You've gotta laugh.
I'm like laughing through the tears.
Yeah, laughing through the tears. So, Coles and Woolies said that they would implement an interim strategy, which is sort of basically them saying they're going to safely store the material until it can be viably processed. So this could be stored at a licensed facility. It's not confirmed because one of the big issues with the storage with RedCycle was saying that it was unsafe. Fire hazard and such.
Right.
So
yes, because the factory
in my notes
catch fire, didn't it?
There was a fire. Yes. So in my notes here, I've got like in caps storage ? How do they make this safe when RedCycle wasn't? Curious, can't find info.
You are just the best at notes.
I am so good at notes. So both of these supermarkets are going to contribute to a multi-million-dollar fund to pay for the storage and management until it can be recycled. But good news is the main recycling partner for the soft plastics called Close the Loop will have its recycling line back on stream in June. So I believe that's the one that had the fire. So that is very good. It means they're able to take 2,500 tons a year. But they also say they'll be taking on more and from other sources. So that is good news.
Okay.
Now, this is just an interesting little tidbit because RedCycle essentially failed because there wasn't enough recycling capacity to handle the levels of plastics being collected and dropped off.
Yeah.
Which meant it was stored in warehouses. And this article here, which again, of course, we'll link everything, says that some of the plastic had been stored for 5 years.
Yeah, that's bonkers.
Which I didn't know.
Yeah, I was led to believe that things turned around a lot quicker than that. Like, there was a place where it was being used and repurposed quicker and that there wasn't such a surplus.
Yeah.
But I guess that's not quite the case.
Nope, it is a big surplus.
Oh, boy.
And I think this will kind of put it into perspective. So RedCycle only handled an estimated between 1 to 3% of the soft plastics. So think about that. Like, they've had all of this amount in storage, and that's not even 1 to 3%.
Yeah. And the funniest, none of this is funny, but the funny thing is that only just now, within the last 6 months, has like everything got the red logo put on it. Like
exactly.
all of the plastic bread bags that I see, so many chip packets, so many chocolate bars, so many things now have that RedCycle sticker imprinted on it, like within the packaging. And that's now going to keep cycling for so long. Because brands order so much packaging. They order such a lot of packaging that it might take another year for it to stop saying RedCycle on all of these bags.
Absolutely.
And so many people are going to get confused. And I hope that there is a solution that especially Coles and Woolworths find. Because right now, all of these bags are saying, take it back to your local supermarket.
I know. So it's like, well, crap, we're getting mixed messages. And I think like this has had quite a lot of coverage. So I think most households would sort of know what's going on. And
honestly,
unfortunately,
you'd think that. I don't think my bosses knew a single thing about RedCycle until like a month ago. Either until I told them or until they heard a bit of this news coverage.
They didn't know RedCycle existed, or they didn't know it went under?
They didn't know it existed until it went under.
Right. See, that's fascinating. I guess we're in our own little bubble,
we're in
honestly.
Such a bubble.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're listening to this, you're probably sort of in our bubble as well, or if not, like just poking your hand in.
Thanks for swimming with us.
Yeah. But interesting. Yeah, sometimes I forget. I mean, there was a stage where I didn't know where a lot of things were, or...
Yeah. So. Well, hey, 2 weeks ago, I learnt that I should not have been recycling my cardboard boxes at work because of the gosh darn inks used on them.
Very, very true.
We learn new things all the time.
Yes, we do. So, in these articles, I found this sentence here that said, Coles, Woolworths and Aldi form part of a government soft plastics task force in November.
Yay, Aldi.
And Aldi. My notes were, again, capital, bold, where, question mark. So I did a little Google and found a Woolies media release. So I'm just going to read a couple of things that is in this release. Again, we will link it down below if you want to read the whole thing, but just a couple of snippets.
Yes.
So they are planning on reinitiating the recycling scheme, but we don't actually know what this will be called. I don't know if they're going to rebrand or whatever.
Okay.
So they're starting with select stores in late 2023. So that's not that far away, provided existing stockpiles of the RedCycle soft plastics can be cleared prior.
Okay. That explains why late 2023.
Yes, exactly.
They want to deal with the current problem.
Absolutely, yeah. So, but then the plan is gradually then to be rolled out nationwide in 2024. So that's only next year. That's very good news.
Yeah.
Yes. So they've, I love that they call it the task force. Like it sounds so like, dun, dun, dun. So the task force has plotted out the projected gradual increase in recycling capacity over the next year. So they've got new operators launching and existing processes expanding. So, which is good. From late 2023, the task force will meet the newly available processing capacity with a staged reintroduction of in-store collections. So that means the volume of incoming household soft plastics doesn't exceed the amount that can be recycled, which is what we had the issue with RedCycle.
Right.
Just they didn't align.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I wonder what that will look like.
Yeah, I've got a little bit more info.
Oh, all right.
Not only is it those three big guys, they also hope to engage other retailers, e-commerce platforms and brands that generate soft plastics to contribute to the development of the new in-store collection program. So I think it'd be good if all hands are sort of involved. It means that it's going to cover quite a lot. So that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Not only that, so this is those big companies. The Victorian government is also consulting on the proposed inclusion of soft plastics in curbside bins.
Oh.
So it has actually been trialed in some areas.
Okay.
But this is through this, I guess, scheme called, it's a mouthful, NPRS, the National Plastics Recycling Scheme. So that's been developed by a whole bunch of guys. I'm not going to go into it because it's going to be like mumbo jumbo. But basically it's a scheme based on a model which would see the food and grocery manufacturers pay a levy to support the recycling. So this is being trialed, which is interesting. So the plan is to make it easier for people to recycle soft plastics at home. Instead, we used to have to drop it off. And it creates, well, the hope is it will create an advanced recycling industry in Australia that can turn used soft plastics back into new food grade packaging.
Oh, wow. No, that's exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. So essentially it's creating a circular loop and cleaner recycling streams.
Ooh.
And that's going to be through an expanded curbside collection. I think we touched on a few episodes ago that they were introducing new bins.
Yeah.
Like the FOGO bin, Food Organics, Garden Organics.
Yes.
So I think it'll...
Which I'm getting next month or something. Yeah.
That is exciting.
It is just rolling out to my suburb.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I actually saw a bus poster. What are they called? A bus. You know what I mean? A bus poster.
An advert on
poster
a bus.
At a bus stop. Of those bins. And I was like, oh, look, Jake, look, exciting. And he was like, okay.
Yes, dear.
Yes, very good, very good.
Yes, green is good, yes.
Yes. So with the household or curbside thing, what the plan is to do a bag in bin. So it's kind of like I think some areas in like inner metro have the food bins. They've got the little baggies that they put the food scraps in.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of like that, but for soft plastics.
Okay.
And they'll be given special recycling bags, which are produced and printed for the trial, which kind of sounds like backwards, but anyway. And they'll be advised on how to fill them, how to put them in their bin, and etc. So that's only certain areas. Then the bags will be extracted from the waste stream and sent for processing. So there's a whole kind of logistics thing around it that is very interesting. I mean, someone's obviously thought about it to make it work, but...
In my brain, I am seeing why, if it's like a bag that's a very specific color, or maybe it's got a barcode or something like that, like something that tech notices and is like, yes, that's,
they can be like,
that's
you're
the
that
bag
way.
Full of soft plastics. You go here to do the thing.
Yes.
Then I kind of get why they'd produce something, but it better be made from recycled plastics.
Well, yeah, and it's got to be durable enough that it doesn't get broken in transit or in like movement within the facility, because then obviously you've contaminated your other streams.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm excited, and I'm very interested to see how it all works.
Yeah.
That's good.
I like it. You know, I thought this episode was going to be so negative, and look at all of these amazing things that are actually happening.
I know. I have one more thing too.
Oh my gosh.
One more thing. So I just did this research earlier, I'm not going to lie, and I was so excited, and I was like, type. Jake's like, dinner's ready. I'm like, wait, I need to finish this. So there's another article here that touches on Cleanaway, the big company.
Oh, yeah.
They have a $500 million plan to fill the soft plastics recycling hole. So there's two companies, Cleanaway and this company I've never heard of, which is apparently a plastics manufacturer, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Qenos, Qenos. I don't know. Apparently they manufacture plastic and special plastic blends.
Okay.
So I looked them up and just copied and pasted, but I don't think you need to see the Google definition of their business. But anyway, apparently they've been working for months on a plan to collect the soft plastics, which is through the existing household garbage collections. So that's where they're involved.
Looking at this like separate bag thing as well?
Yeah. So I'm not sure if it's the same thing that the government was doing, whether or not it'd be a contract with them, but it's very much the same thing as a bag in a bin.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and who is he? Mark Schubert is the Cleanaway chief executive. And he's sort of touching on what I said before, that the RedCycle program showed that there is a huge community and customer support. So they've just got to scale it appropriately.
Yeah. It must be really hard to judge from the fact that so many people did recycle their soft plastics that it overwhelmed RedCycle. And then there's people that I know that have never heard of it before.
I know. It's like, well, shit. I mean, I guess if we're only touching on the 1 to 3% of soft plastics recycled, it's probably because half the population is like, what? What's RedCycle?
Yeah. And starting any of these other schemes, like you can account for how many people have recycled and use that for your projection into the future. But then you have to account for if you do any marketing that's good, then more people find out. And then you have to account for that.
Snowballs.
As well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, I think I said this in the RedCycle episode, but it's not the recycling that we need to focus on. It's the initial production.
Yes, less needs to be produced.
Absolutely. So I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately, but, you know, maybe there's these businesses like the Naked Drink Company that are doing aluminium cans. Like, there's small movements. So I am hopeful that eventually, you know, we'll realize that, hey, this is not the way to do it.
Yes, that is so true. Well, I've got a few little bullet points here if it's time to move on to talking about a few different materials, because that's where my brain went to. So,
well, I do have one last tiny little beep on there. I learned a new word today. I was reading that article about the Cleanaway thing, and this says, under the proposal of those two companies, Cleanaway and Kunos, or however you say it, they would jointly invest in advanced recycling technology to convert the soft plastics into feedstock.
Feedstock?
And I was like, feedstock? What? You're feeding our animals like plastic? What?
You're just directly giving the birds plastic now?
Bamboozled. So apparently a feedstock is defined as any renewable biological material that can be used directly as a fuel or converted to another form of fuel or energy product.
Oh.
There you go. The more you know.
Why did they call it feedstock?
I don't know. I have no idea.
What are they doing there? Like food's for people and animals.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So anyway, they make it into feedstock, which can then be used to make new plastic. So they use that fuel or something.
Okay.
But there you go.
Okay.
New word. But I feel I've rambled enough, so hit me with your information.
My brain's just thinking about it is great that it's going somewhere. It's being used. It still just doesn't seem perfect. Like it took energy to make it in the first place. And now there's no other use for it. So it's being used to make more. But it's not being recycled as such. It's being probably heated. Like I'm imagining a huge furnace or something. I might be totally wrong. I
think you might be right. Yeah, you could be right.
I could be right. I have been right sometimes before.
Sometimes, yeah. Oh, here you go, yeah. It says, make new plastic through a process known as pyrolysis, which is apparently decomposition brought about by high temperatures.
Okay, all right. So the fire part was accurate.
Yeah.
There was actually, so I have a little thing here about what materials are best. And this is not in-depth research at all, but my brain, even before this, now I'm thinking, okay, cool, what do we use in the meantime? But in general, like you touched on a great thing last time we spoke about RedCycle being that this really seemed like more of a band-aid than a solution to the problem. And really, we should be looking to minimize plastic. Brands, businesses should be using way less soft plastic because there are other options out there. Trying to minimize buying it when we can. And obviously for certain things, like if it's medical grade or just for safety, soft plastic and plastic in general can be the safer thing to use. And so I'm not trying to say that you should not use plastic at all. It has its place, and therefore we should try to minimize it where it doesn't need to be its place.
Yeah, agreed.
Cost comes into things in a big way. And like, I'd be lying if I said I didn't buy more plastic right now than I used to, because times are just a bit tougher and sometimes that thing is cheaper. And for example, we've started buying, is it called the Ugly Bunch? Like the carrots?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I actually, there's the Odd Bunch?
Odd Bunch. I think. Odd Bunch. Yeah. There we go.
I love them. I mean, it means that one carrot is not necessarily like a serving. You get like a stumpy one or you get like a weird wobbly one. But,
right. And I love that. I love that they're in a bag and it is so much cheaper. And the great thing is that you're therefore making sure those carrots or whatever it is doesn't go to waste. But it is a shame that it's in the bag. You know, like you get the same amount of carrots that are not in a bag. But this is their way of making sure it gets sold. Like they've made it a cool thing that that you're saving it from waste and that it looks a bit odd. And so like I would be lying if I would say that I'm not using more plastic right now. But if you have the option and when you have the option, there are other options. Maybe not for everything, but where you can. That is what I want to stress here. So I've been looking into the other materials and generally speaking, I'm looking at packaging. I've compared paper, glass, and aluminium. And we're basically going to go in kind of order. So we're starting with paper and card. And they are pretty good, but mostly they get good points because they're compostable. So even if they get something soaked into them, you can compost them at home. But therefore, it only gets points if you can compost them. So it kind of ends there. And if you've got paper and card that gets contaminated, you then cannot recycle it. So either it's composted or it has to go into landfill.
Yeah.
So that can be a wee bit annoying, which then leads me to glass. Glass is better because it can't get contaminated. Things don't soak into it.
True.
It's also pretty easy to recycle over and over again, whereas paper and card, the more you recycle it, the more it will actually still kind of degrade, like it will break up into smaller pieces. Glass, as great as it is, if it's broken, in some places you're not actually allowed to recycle it anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
If you've got broken glass, sometimes they are okay with it on its own, or if it's wrapped up in something like newspaper. In other places, particularly probably if the sorting process is done by people, by hands.
Of course.
Then broken glass just kind of can't be part of the mix.
Of course.
And glass, in one source I saw today, hopefully I can find it again and link it, glass apparently in landfill will take something ridiculous like 1 million years to biodegrade.
Yep.
So that's not great either. This brings me to aluminium. This is my personal favourite.
Aluminium.
Shout out.
All I can think about is that song.
I have never heard this song.
Hydrogen. What? The periodic table of elements. Is that what it is? Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium.
Oh my gosh.
Carbon, nitrogen.
Okay, I've heard Daniel Radcliffe sing that song.
Aluminium.
Thank you. That was Science with Mikaela.
But you say it way better. Aluminum. Is that what you said?
No, that's how Americans say it. I say aluminium.
Okay. Aluminium.
Aluminium. Aluminium, love.
Okay. Aluminum.
Or, yes, or aluminum, as our American viewers. Hello, if you're out there. Anywho, aluminium is my favourite because it is very recyclable. In fact, and I have this stat right here, yes, it may have been from a I Love Aluminium website, but it said...
Wait, what? There's a website?
It wasn't called that. It was like it definitely...
I thought there was a website that was just like, I love aluminium.
I love aluminium. Like...
Oh, sorry.
Do I actually still have it up? I'll let you know what it was actually called.
We love aluminium.
I heart aluminium. It was called aluminium.org.au. There we go.
Okay.
Almost.
Yeah. Very close.
So they claim that when you recycle aluminium, it can use up to 95% less energy than producing new aluminium from ore.
Oh, okay.
So instead of mining new aluminium, if you recycle it, it takes 95% less energy, which is great, or up to 95% less energy.
Yeah.
Which is damn good. And in fact, about 70% of all aluminium ever made is still in use today.
Oh,
has been recycled and is still in use. So that is really, really cool that And we've been making
really
aluminium for a
cool.
long time.
Mm.
The other thing that actually brings it above glass, because glass can be recycled as well, glass is really heavy compared to aluminium, which brings aluminium more in line with something like paper or plastic, which is known to be lighter.
Absolutely.
And that is why I like aluminium. However, what did I sound like just then? I'd like to tell everyone that I'm ill and a bit delirious.
It's fine. I'm not ill and I am delirious.
Oh, good. I'm so glad we're on the same page.
We make up one whole.
We are just green girl tonight.
Yes.
Thank you for being with singular us.
Green girl.
Green girl. The other thing, of course, if you can, go to a plastic-free shop. So there's The Source, which is pretty much throughout Melbourne. I hope it's in more places, but I've got no idea. There's an amazing one called The Full Pantry near me, and I don't know if it's been mentioned in this episode already. I went to a clothes swap on Friday, and the presenter there actually mentioned that while they had food available, all of it was from the Full Pantry. And so all the crackers, all the chocolates, all the pretzels, grapes, everything was sourced from the Full Pantry, so
that's great.
Everything was plastic free, because this is what that's what the Full Pantry specializes in. In fact, I remember 4 years ago or something, I went in and they had a big notice up saying we don't do takeaway coffee cups. Like either you have to bring your own if you want to take away, or you have to sit in and enjoy yourself here.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Yeah, or no coffee, obviously.
Or no coffee.
I was like, if you're going to come here and get your coffee, dem's the rules. And they put that above, I guess, ease for the person that was coming in. But, you know, sometimes we kind of need a bit of a shove to adapt and be shown that it's really easy to bring a cup.
A gentle push.
Yeah. Either you can come 15 minutes earlier and just drink in, or that gentle nudge, to bring and remember your cup every day.
Yes.
And that's something I really love, the Full Pantry. Shout out to them. They are so good. And not even if you're vegan, like they'll stock so many things that you otherwise could not get without packaging. Brilliant. I love that they are catering for a wider audience. It's bringing more people in. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. That's great.
Yes. Honestly, if you Google or Bing.
No, don't Bing. You don't do it.
You know what? Is eCosure is great, and DuckDuckGo. If you DuckDuckGo,
yes,
plastic-free shop near me, just see what pops up, and there might actually be something new in the area. But that's as much research as my little brain could do.
Fair enough.
At this point in time.
I think that's very good.
Because I don't want people to beat themselves up if they have to buy plastic. Like, I'm certainly trying to not beat myself up, but it really is about being like, okay, I have to buy this in plastic. Is there something else that I can not buy in plastic? Like,
balance.
We went through a phase where we had to buy pasta in plastic, but now, finally, the brand Barilla has brought out certain products that don't have the little plastic
yes,
frame window
see-through
thingy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, fantastic, good. And I heard that they were doing that like good. 3 years ago, and finally the packaging has come to Australia that doesn't have the window.
I feel like we've talked about this before, because I remember you saying Barilla and the little plastic thing, and you're like, grr.
I know, yes, big grr. And most of their products do still have the window, but it might just be that it's still being phased out.
Of course, well, because as we said before, there's packaging that's probably still in circulation from who knows when.
Yep. Oh, such fun. Yes, in 5 years' time, when we're like, what's RedCycle? We won't still be getting it on bread bags.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Or it might somehow be back. Who knows?
Who knows? There's definitely some good things in the future. I think it's good news that you know, the big guys have come together. I think that's what we need.
Yeah.
And it's a start, at least until the, you know, original production, there's alternatives. But I think there is some good news. So
yeah. So are you going to be stockpiling all your soft plastics for the next year?
Probably.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I've got a bin. I don't know. It's like the height of my knee.
Oh,
if that's
huge.
Any reference for anyone? I'm short, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got like a plastic. Yes, it's plastic bin. That is underneath my counter that it's got like a flippy lid, and then I just put the plastics in there. It's right in the kitchen. And then once that gets full, which honestly takes like a few months.
Well, you can keep on pushing it, can't you?
Yeah, and because I used to put it in bags, but now I've got this like square bin, it all sits flat, and then I just take everything out put it in a big bag, and I've currently shoved some up in like the attic space. But I've only got one. Actually, I've got 2 bags so far because I didn't drop anything off at RedCycle before this issue happened. So
same.
I don't know if I'm contributing to the problem. I don't think so, considering that there is a plan to overcome it. I will just hold on to it until the program is good to go again.
Yep.
And I know people can't do that. I don't want to make anyone feel guilty. Like, I'm just next level.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, it's okay if you can't do it. And I don't expect anyone to. Just make a more informed decision of what you do buy. So no judgment here.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, honestly, I've held on to everything. But I did turn to Tarek when I got your text being like, does this mean that we should throw out like the 6 months of stuff we've got? And he was like, no, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait out the storm. Just see if anything happens. I was like, okay, yeah, bet. All right.
Yep.
Let's see.
We shall see. Exactly right.
We shall see. Well, thanks, everyone. I'd like to know if you are going to be stockpiling along with us.
Yes, well, we can make a blanket out of all the soft plastics.
Maybe it's all just insulation up in your attic.
Maybe, that's correct.
I've got no idea if
is that a fire hazard?
Insulating
I don't know.
Well, let's not go into
surely.
that.
Anyway, we are not encouraging you to store soft plastics in your ceiling space. Not at all. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Okie dokie. Thanks everyone so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, we would love if you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or a star rating on Spotify. You can follow the podcast on Instagram with @greengirls.podcast. You can follow Chloe, me, on Instagram with @BeKindCoco. Or if you like gaming, then @CozyGamerCoco. Forgot my own username for a second. And you can follow the lovely Mikaela on Instagram with @Mikaela Hoffman, or her amazing new business @RetroKittyVintage. Whoop, whoop, whoop. For all your fashion needs. If you'd like to email us to become a sponsor, or actually for any reason, you can do this with greengirlspodcast@gmail.com. We have also got a Patreon. It's new, but you can look up Green Girls Podcast there and find us. And we might even have a coffee link, if I remember correctly. Who knows? That's all, folks. Look out for new episodes every other Wednesday, because on Wednesdays we podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening to our ramblings today. And until next time, remember, it doesn't matter if you take it slow. It matters that you take a step. Bye.
Yay. Bye.